Let's look at some of the exit polling data here, folks. Some of this stuff is fascinating to me. 4 in 10 Republican primary voters, this is in Wisconsin, said that they were scared of what Donald Trump might do in office. 40% of Republican primary voters. Those numbers, however, went up to 6 in 10 for Cruz and Kasich supporters. So, for example, people that voted for Ted Cruz, 6 out of 10 of them said they were scared of what Trump might do in office. Ditto for John Kasich. The Wisconsin GOP scene has been more vehemently anti-Trump than many other states. And again, that's I think, a factor of this basically becoming a two-man race. Another notable item in the exit surveys, about half of the Wisconsin voters said they wanted somebody who did have experience in elections. Well, now, wait just a second. If that's true, if half of the Republican primary voters in Wisconsin, they do want somebody that does have experience in elections, it's almost saying they want somebody that's an insider. They want somebody that knows the business of politics. It's certainly not an endorsement of outsiders. And according to other exit poll analysis, voters seem to be bucking against the sentiments that Trump has expressed recently about withdrawing from NATO and letting Russia do the fighting against ISIS. In other words, some of the exit poll data out of Wisconsin, we don't like that. We don't like getting out of the world, and we don't like abandoning these security organizations that literally are us. Half of Wisconsin voters said that they thought the U.S. should be more active in world affairs. 66% of Republican voters made their decision before this week. Here are some other things and this is from John Fund at the National Review Corner. For the first time in a primary, exit polls showed that Ted Cruz clearly won voters who considered themselves somewhat conservative. That supposedly is a sign that he can expand his coalition from a hard right base to people that are somewhat conservative. That's considered to be noteworthy. That constitutes Cruz broadening his base. He also performed adequately with Republican moderates, who made up 25% of the electorate in Wisconsin. Now, Trump normally carries the moderates easily, but last night he won only 40% of their votes. Cruz got 29, Kasich 28. That's still a huge Trump win in moderates. But Fund here saying that the inroads that Cruz made in that number are huge. So, again, people look at momentum here rather than direct outcome. John Kasich's voters, I guess there were enough of them to exit poll. What did Kasich get? Snurdly, do you know what the... Okay, so you got 13%. So there were enough Kasich voters to exit poll. And Kasich's voters said they were sympathetic to the argument that only Cruz could stop Trump in Wisconsin, but that didn't matter. They were voting for Kasich anyway. Trump's signature issues in the exit polls did not play all that well in Wisconsin. Try this. Only 6% of voters considered immigration their most important issue. And among the half of Republicans who thought trade cost American jobs, Trump beat Cruz 43-42. Those are two key issues in the Trump camp. And there's something that's not exit poll data, that's hard polling data. And that is, I forget the numbers, but in the last 6 months, which basically would span the campaign, the support for an actual wall on the Mexican border has gone down significantly. I don't have the numbers in front of me, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's a significant drop. So if you add that to only 6% of Wisconsin voters considered immigration their most important. By the way, that's not unique either. There have been a couple of other states where immigration has not finished even in the top 5, even where Trump has won, even in states where Trump has won. And I think there might be in that a little bit of some sort of effect, because the left has portrayed immigration as a racial issue, and a lot of people don't want to go there and don't want people to think. So that number may be a little bit curious. Also, 35% of Republican voters who thought the most important issue was whether a candidate shared their values. This question amazes me. I have begun to look at this question in every election exit poll. If I can take you back to 2012, this question, blank shares my values, Romney got trounced 81-19 on that question by Barack Hussein O. And when I saw that in the first wave of exit polls at around 4 o'clock on Election Day in 2012, that pretty much told me it was over. That big a spread. You know, elections, votes are really rooted in a lot of people's case and how people make them feel. The old actor's adage that people never remember what you say, but they will never forget how you make them feel. When I saw that Obama beat Romney 81-19 on the question, shares my values, and here, 35% of Republican voters who thought that was the most important issue, Trump was crushed. 35% of GOP voters who thought the most important issue was whether a particular candidate shared their values, he lost that 66% to 11% to Cruz. Shares my values, Cruz 66%, Trump 11%. And that's among, again, 35% of people who think it's the most important issue. That's not everybody. I got to take a break. Sit tight. We'll be right back. It is the Pew Research Center. It says that support for the wall is down. It was at 48% last September, and it's down now to, can't find it, but it's below